one of my cabbages. You can see my head, pretty big. As you can see, the head is not very big, but the leaves are just wonderful. This is Michelle, and I'm here with some of the cabbage that I harvested. I planted it a little bit late, so it didn't really turn into big heads, just little ones. But I got huge leaves, nice green leaves. They're pretty big. And I didn't get a lot of big little cabbages because we're here at the beginning of June. I don't want the bugs to start coming in and eating the cabbage, so I would rather take the green leaves. So we got little worms that are trying to come, and right there, see that worm? Come and eat the leaves. They're going to start growing and working on that. I'm going to just harvest this before they can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I slice these up and make them into just little pieces like this. Then I steam them. Very lightly steam them and then put them in my dehydrator, and then from there I will powder them, and they'll be nice green dark powder to put in my smoothies or soups. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save all these nice green leaves, and you know, I can use these little cabbages too, but the worms are starting to come in and attack them, and I don't like to use a lot of sprays in my garden. I don't really use hardly any. I just kind of work with the bugs, and so I'll just show you a little bit of process of how I do that. So I take this leaf and I make sure it's clean. If it needs to be washed, I wash it. If it doesn't, I don't. I just take the leaf and I'll just cut the main stem off, like this. And just save that for later. I'll probably blend that up later for the sheep or chickens or whatever. Now I could cut this up and do some lacto fermentation, but I already have some sauerkraut in the refrigerator that I need to use up, so I'm just going to make this into powder. So I just take the leaves and set them aside and make a stack of them. I'm going to rinse off each one here. It was a little bit drizzly outside and wet, so some of them got a little bit dirty. Make sure you check them over for any worms. So far these worms are not really that bad. They're just starting to come out, so I think I caught this in time to get it out of the carton so we don't get a lot of that problem. If I can plant something else. We're going to flatten that out there. Make sure that these are clean, no bugs. Looks good. Nice and green. You know, something you probably would be too thick and chewy to cook is a steamed green, even though you could do that. I would rather just not use it because I have so many other tender greens I can be using. I've got some Russian kale out there and Siberian kale that I'm harvesting and using. So I can throw them in my juices. This cabbage will probably be a little strong, so it would be better to make into powder. I can see the worm poopings from the cabbage worm starting in this one. Good, I'm getting these out of the garden because I don't really want them to take over. So here we got these leaves here, and I already have the bowl here that I started. So I'm just going to slice these. See, I cut the stem out so that they lay nice and flat, and then I'm just going to slice them like this with a knife down here. Nice sharp corrugated, one of those small corrugated knives. Work good, but any sharp knife will work. Careful not to cut your finger. And push them together like this, turn it, and make them into little pieces. I've got my steamer going on the stove, so I'm heating up that water there. This is what it looks like, and this is like, there's a lot of nutrients in this. Probably more so than in these cabbages because it's darker green. So I'm just going to pile it in this basket and we're going to start steaming. Okay, so I got my water hot. I'm just going to fill this up loosely, very loosely, so the steam can kind of get around it. I don't pack it tight. I don't press it down. I just loosely put it in there. Maybe enough to go right just up to the hole mark there at the rim. This rim right here where the holes are. Not adding too much because I don't want it to take a long time to steam. Alright, we'll steam that for just a few minutes here, maybe 4 minutes. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's just been 4 minutes, so I'm going to shut this off real quick here. And you can see that the greens have cooked down. They're nice and bright still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and bring them over and put them on top of a screen for my dehydrator. I'm just going to dump them on my screen here. One of these batches should probably do a screen. Let's see if it's not too much. This is hot stuff. It's hot. There are some nutrients that are drawn out when you steam them. And also it makes it a prettier color. It's richer and greener. This is the way that I like to do it. It's just spread them out here on this tray, and I'm just going to let it dehydrate overnight, and they should be nice and crispy by morning. Let's see, it's around 9 o'clock this morning, so maybe I can check them tonight to see how they're doing. I'm trying to fluff it up here a little bit so that it's not too compacted. There. Okay. I have an Excalibur dehydrator here. I'm going to put them in here. See how many shells I can get done today. There's 9 trays in here. I should be able to fill them with this harvest, and I've got more out there in the garden I'll have to do later. All right. I have another little project here that I've been doing. I have walking onions in my garden. So while I'm waiting for these batches here of cabbage leaves to steam them and dehydrate them, I have these walking onions that I was cleaning up my garden in the rain the other day, and nice drizzly rain, overcast. I can just keep working out there when it's like that because the sun isn't beating down on you. But anyway, I have these walking onions. Some people call them winter onions. I let them go to seed. Too busy to harvest the greens, and so they have these little seeds that form on the top, and I'm going to just replant them. So I've got a couple baskets of them right here. I'm going to set them aside, and I'm going to just take the tough part, which is still got a lot of onion flavor in it, and I'm going to chop them up, and I'm not going to steam them. I'm just going to dehydrate them raw. But what I probably will do is do it outside in my other harvest dehydrator so that the odor of onion won't be in my house. My husband is a little more sensitive than I am, but when it comes to dehydrating onions, that's pretty strong. So I just have a plug outside of my porch that I'll use for that. So I'm just going to take these kind of like in bunches like this and just kind of start chopping. Just get them small enough so that I can put them in the food processor. And then from there I can make them a little finer. I gotta wash my fingers. Okay, I'm just going to run them in my food processor and make them a little finer. And whew, the onion smell is going to be pretty strong. Ooh, my eyes are starting to hit me already. Put the cover on this. Okay, my timer ended. 4 minutes. I'm going to just, I think I'm going to let it go another minute. Still not quite done yet. I'll finish chopping these up. I'm trying to do 2 things at once here so we can get a lot of things from the garden processed. I use my green powders for making salad dressings. The onions, especially the onions, for my Italian dressing recipe I have. I'm going to put the cover on here, blend it up. Woo! Strong, strong. Okay, I'll let that sit in there while I get my greens here. I think they're done enough. Ooh, got some hot water on my foot. Now that's a big batch. I think that's why it took longer to cook. I might have to do 2 trays with this one. Ah, hot stuff. Okay, I'm going to take these greens. We're going to bring them on my porch. It's been raining a lot here today, yesterday. In this kind of weather, I love to work out in the garden. But here I got I've got this dehydrator going here. American Harvest has several stacks, the harvest kind. I'm just going to add the rest of this stuff here to this. I still have a little bit left I'm going to chop up. And also, if I would have waited a little longer, these would have probably went to seed. But I don't think they're mature enough to do that yet. So I'm going to just chop everything up. And I can see a spider right there. A little bit of spider won't hurt nothing. And I'm just going to chop it all up and make it into a powder, even the flower buds, because it'll all make a great powder to use for salad dressing and stuff. So I'm just going to cut it up. The rest of this little bit, I'll probably just put it in the blender. Okay, this one has more of the seeds in it, so it's a little bit more of the flower buds, but this just made 3 trays. Okay, so I got 3 trays out here on my porch with onions in it. And we'll let that dry overnight. Let me go check my cabbage greens. Okay, that was pretty good timing. I got the onions done and my cabbage greens right about the same time. It only took about an hour, not even maybe. So it's not that time consuming really. The dehydrators do the work. That's what takes the time. And so we'll just put this last tray in. I do have some extra space in my Excalibur, so I may go out and get a little bit more cabbage to get it so that I can run my dehydrator with the full trays. I grow all my greens inside of some raised beds that are fertilized, and the compost I make is from the leaves and the fertilizer from my barn. So I don't even buy organic fertilizers. I just use my barn manures from chickens, goats, sheep. Right now we just have sheep, so I'm using that. We constantly are making compost in big mounds where we get leaves from the city and we mix it. When I weed my garden, I make compost piles that are 4 feet high, where they just break down over a year. I don't even have to toss it. So here we are the next morning, and I have some dried cabbage leaves. Most of it is dry. There's a few that are a little damp, but I'm going to crush them like this with my hand. And the ones that are wet, really dry, will crush, and the other ones won't. And then I'll sift it, and then I can put back in the dehydrator the ones that aren't dry, and we can dry them some more. I'm just crushing them with my hands here like this to get them to be kind of small pieces, very small pieces, and the ones that are wet won't crush. And I'm just going to sift them out. It's amazing. 3 whole pots on the stove of all that cabbage leaf that I had the other day. And once you get it into powder, you've condensed the amount so much, but it's just a nice way to store this nutritious green to put into different dishes that you make, whether it's a soup or noodles or breads. It's like you can turn it into flour. Alright, so I got it crushed up now. See how much lower it went? But there are some wet pieces in here, so I'm going to sift it. I'm going to put this tray down here, and it depends on what kind of sifter you use. Like this one here has kind of small holes, so I'm not sure if a lot will go through. So we'll see how this works. This will get some of it, some of the really small pieces. I'm going to rub it in there and just rub it through here. I don't want to put it in the blender yet because I don't want to blend up some of these wet pieces yet. So I'm going to just keep crushing them and letting this come through here like this. There, that definitely is all dry right there. Some of this is a lot wet still, so what I'm going to do is just lay that in the dehydrator again and let it dry for a few more hours. I want to crush this a little bit here. There's a little bit of dry on here. I'm going to try to get that out first. Run that through one more time. Okay, now we got mostly wet here. I'm going to just dry this on here. I'll lay that back out and put it in the dehydrator. So we'll put this back in here to let it dry a little bit longer. Okay, so I have a tray of dried cabbage leaves that are finely ground. So you can leave it like this and put it in soups, or you can grind it a little bit finer and make it into flour. If I keep it like this, it'll hold its nutrients a little bit better. The more you grind up something, the sooner the nutrients are lost in it over a long storage time. So I think what I will do is I will just store this like this, and I'll just mark it as cabbage leaves, and we'll just use it as we need it. I think it's so neat that you can take a huge pile of cabbage leaves from the garden garden. We've taken all those leaves from 3 full pots and dried them and got them down to 4 to 5 cups of dried leaves. It's so efficient. You don't need a freezer. You can just store it in a cold storage room or someplace where it's cool and dark, and this will last you the year. You don't have to worry about trying to get rid of it real quick because it'll go bad. It'll just stay dry in the jar. So it's a great way to preserve food. Hi, this is Michelle from God's Creation Gardens. I put together the video over a period of time. I actually had harvested the cabbage a couple years ago, put together that video and never got it out. And then I had other cabbages I've done over the years. So I was able to pull together a bunch of videos from different time eras to make this video. Right now, we're all having to stay at home with the COVID-19. For me, that doesn't make much change because I'm home a lot anyway. But I just wanted to encourage you all just to trust God. And if you don't know the Lord, to turn to Him. He is faithful and will help us during this time. In the area of gardening and planting, we do a lot of cultivating. The things that God has made for us to enjoy here are wonderful, and they're blessings to us. He's created so many things for us to enjoy. But one thing I want to realize more and more is that those things will pass away, and the important thing is that we cultivate our heart and cultivate faithfulness to God. And so I wanted to read a scripture to you in Psalms 37. It says, it starts off in verse 1, it says, "Do not fret because of evildoers, be not envious toward wrongdoers, for they will wither quickly like the grass and fade like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He will do it." So that's a verse that is a good one to think about right now, and always, of course. And so I want to thank you for watching, and may God be with you, bless you, keep you safe and well. Bye-bye.